Let's begin today by asking a simple but deep question. How do people find information in a library? It might seem obvious. They search the catalog or maybe they use Google Scholar. But the truth is, what happens behind the scenes is far more complex, and it's evolving rapidly. Library systems, discovery layers, and supporting technologies are not just tools. They're the backbone of how libraries function, how knowledge is shared, and ultimately how our communities connect to information. And in this lecture, I want us to think not only about how these systems work, but also about how they shape the way people experience libraries. Library systems have a long history, and one of the biggest turning points came with automation. Imagine managing circulation, cataloging, acquisitions, and serials by hand, endless card files, manual ledgers, slips of paper. Automation changed all of that. Integrated library systems, or ILS, brought together these core functions into one cohesive system. Suddenly, librarians could manage vast collections efficiently, with accuracy, and with far less duplication of effort. But let's pause here. Automation wasn't just about saving time, it was about creating the infrastructure for libraries to expand their role. Without ILS, interlibrary loans at scale would be impossible. Without these systems, libraries could never manage the growing complexity of digital resources. So the real question is, did automation simply make our old practices faster, or did it fundamentally redefine what libraries could do? At the heart of library systems lies one of the most influential standards in library history, MARC, or machine-readable cataloging. MARC records allowed bibliographic data to be encoded in a structured, machine-readable format. That meant consistency, that meant interoperability, and with utilities like OCLC, MARC enabled massive resource sharing across institutions. Think about it. Before MARC and OCLC, every library was an island. With them, libraries became part of a global network. This is more than just technical detail. It's a philosophy of cooperation, a recognition that knowledge belongs to everyone, and no single library can meet every need alone. Here's something to wrestle with. Do standards like MARC liberate libraries? Or do they also constrain us by locking us into particular ways of organizing information? Now, why do these systems matter to users? First, search capabilities. Patrons can search by author, subject, keyword, call number, ISBN, multiple access points. The richer the metadata, the greater the chance of discovery. Second, remote access. Patrons are no longer confined to the building. From home, from a cafe, they can connect to catalogs and electronic resources. Third, integration. Systems are not just catalogs anymore. They link to databases, ebooks, and even multimedia content. And for staff, systems provide better oversight, inventory counts, usage statistics, and insights that drive smarter collection development. But here's a challenge. If our systems are so powerful, why do patrons still default to Google? What does that say about our design choices, our interfaces, and maybe even our philosophy of access? Underneath every library system is a database. A database is nothing more than a collection of records, each with fields, title, author, subject, call number. It might sound dry, but this structure is what makes information retrievable. When you type in a keyword, the system isn't searching books on shelves, it's searching fields in a database. Here's the key. Databases embody decisions. Which fields matter? Which metadata standards are used? Which subjects are emphasized? These choices affect what users can find and what they can't. So the provocative question is, are databases neutral containers of information, or are they reflections of the biases and priorities of the people who design them? When we talk about an integrated library system, we're really talking about a collection of specialized modules that together cover nearly every operational task of the library. The public-facing piece is the online catalog. This is what patrons see, such as the search box, the result list, the availability status. But behind this public layer, there are staff modules, each tailored to a distinct function. There's the cataloging module, where metadata records are created and maintained. Some are original, painstakingly crafted by catalogers. Others are copy cataloged from OCLC or other utilities. This is where consistency in description and classification happens. Next is the acquisitions module, which manages ordering, budgeting, and vendor interactions. It's the library's financial and supply chain arm. Then there's serials control, which is notoriously complex, tracking subscriptions, issues, gaps, and renewals. Finally, the circulation module perhaps the one most staff interact with daily. It manages checkouts, renewals, holds, fines, and inventory updates. Every transaction here ripples out across the rest of the system. Understanding these modules is critical because it reminds us that a library system is not a single tool, but a tightly interlinked network of workflows, each supporting the others. Now, here's where things get really interesting. These modules don't just exist side by side, they are in constant communication. That's what's often called the dance of the modules. Take something simple, like a patron checking out a book. In that single action, circulation updates the patron's account, changes the item's status, notifies the catalog, and adjusts availability for every other user searching the system. It's seamless, almost invisible, but it's a choreography of multiple systems working together. This interconnectedness matters deeply. Without it, we'd risk duplication, errors, or worse, misleading patrons. Imagine if a patron saw a book listed as available in the catalog when it was actually checked out. That breaks trust in the system. So, this dance is not just about efficiency, it's about credibility. Patrons rely on the library's information being accurate at the very moment they need it. While the ILS provides the backbone, libraries quickly realized it wasn't enough. As collections grew more digital, new layers had to be added on top. Electronic Resource Management Systems, or ERMS, emerged to track the complex world of journal subscriptions, license agreements, and renewal deadlines. Digital library systems were built to house photographs, oral histories, video, and born digital collections. Link resolvers became critical tools, helping patrons move seamlessly from a citation in a database to the full text in another vendor's platform. And then, of course, came discovery layers, which we'll unpack more fully in the next slide. The pattern here is important. Libraries have never stopped adapting their systems. The ILS alone couldn't meet every need, so we layered, extended, and built bridges. In some ways, it shows our resilience, but it also reveals the constant struggle of trying to stitch together technologies that weren't designed to fit perfectly in the first place. The rise of discovery layers was a turning point. For years, librarians noticed something frustrating. Patrons were skipping the catalog altogether. They were going straight to Google. Why? Because Google gave them everything in one place: fast, simple, and seemingly comprehensive. Discovery layers were an attempt to meet patrons where they were. Instead of expecting users to navigate multiple databases, a discovery layer offered a single search box, just like Google, but tied directly to the holdings of the library and licensed resources. These tools introduced features like faceted browsing, relevance ranking, book covers, and integration with both print and electronic content. Systems like EBSCO Discovery Service, Ex Libris, Primo, Summon, and open source solutions like ViewFind all sought to bring the library into a more modern search environment. But discovery layers also introduced debates. Some librarians worried they flattened out the richness of specialized databases. Others argued they were essential for survival in a digital landscape dominated by commercial search engines. Here, the key issue is balance, making access intuitive while still preserving the depth and quality that libraries uniquely provide. One of the most fascinating debates in library systems is the choice between open source and commercial software. Open source platforms like Koha, Evergreen, and Folio embody the ethos of community-driven development. Libraries that adopt them can customize interfaces, add features, and participate in shared innovation. The cost savings are often attractive too, though they come with the expectation that libraries must invest in local expertise or rely on third-party support vendors. On the other side are commercial platforms: Alma, Sierra, Symphony, Polaris. These systems are maintained by vendors who promise reliability, regular updates, and customer support. The trade-off, of course, is cost and flexibility. You work within the vendor's roadmap, not your own. This decision is not just about technology, it's about philosophy. Do we value autonomy and collaboration, even if it requires more effort? Or do we value stability and support, even if it locks us into a vendor's ecosystem? Many libraries are navigating this tension right now, especially as budgets tighten and digital expectations grow. When the time comes to adopt a new system, libraries face an exhaustive evaluation process. Migration is the first concern. How do we move thousands or even millions of records from one system to another? Should we weed collections before migrating or carry everything over and clean up later? Modules are another critical point. Some libraries may prioritize circulation and cataloging, while others need strong acquisitions or serial support. Then there's the user interface. How much freedom do we have to customize the patron-facing catalog? Can we change the look and feel, or are we locked into the vendor's design choices? Staff usability is equally important. If daily tasks require too many clicks or confusing workflows, staff efficiency drops and frustration rises. And finally, the vendor itself. Is this a company with a stable future? What's their history with mergers, customer support, and innovation? These business questions are as important as the technical ones because a library system is not a short term investment. It's often a decade long commitment. So, what's next? This is where the conversation gets provocative. There's a growing sense that the traditional catalog may have run its course. Catalogs were built to organize what the library owns. But in today's information landscape, patrons want more. They want the seamless, expansive experience of Google. Attempts to catalog the web have failed. The scale is simply too immense. And as our resources become increasingly digital, the catalog feels less like a discovery tool and more like an administrative record for staff. That's why many argue the future lies in holistic discovery. Systems that merge owned holdings, licensed content, open access materials, and even web resources into one interface. Discovery layers, or something that evolves from them, could become the new standard. But here's the tension. If libraries give up the catalog as a distinct identity, what happens to our role as curators? Do we risk becoming invisible in the flood of global information? Or do we redefine ourselves as guides and integrators, helping patrons cut through noise with trusted pathways? That's the future we need to wrestle with. A move from ownership-based catalogs to networked discovery systems, from narrow views to broad horizons. The question is not whether change is coming, it's how libraries will shape that change. From the modules of an ILS to the promise of discovery layers, from open source debates to questions about the very survival of catalogs, we can see that library systems are not static tools. They're evolving ecosystems shaped by technology, vendors, librarians, and, most importantly, users. As you think about these systems, don't just memorize features. Ask what they reveal about the values of libraries, about how we see our role in a digital society, because the systems we choose today will define how patrons experience knowledge tomorrow.